I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
Peace up, A-Town. Yeah. Okay. Usher. Lil Jon. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a 4-2-5 defense. All you gotta do is blitz more. All they gotta do is fire Eric Glenn, and then they can start winning again. They're so stupid.
Put me in, coach. I knew we could have won state, man. I know I came in a little bit overweight, but I'm going to do much better next time. One pride, let's go. Woo!
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Here's the thing, though. What I've been doing is 3:30 every morning. That's I get up and I do my sprints. Yeah, I mean, those are prime sprinting hours. People don't realize. And that's how I know I'm succeeding, is if I'm doing my sprints while everyone else is asleep. It's a winning mindset is what it is. That's exactly what it is.
I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
Life is not that complicated. You get up, you go to work, you eat 3 meals, you take one good shit, and you go back to bed.
There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious.
Sell the team, bro. Sell the team. 1957. Ain't won shit since 1957. They need to sell the team. They ain't never gonna do nothing. Same old lines.
If there's any haters in here right now that don't have nobody to hate on, feel free to hate on me. Sit back there and say my hair ain't luxurious when you know it is, bitch.
Hail to the king, baby.
I say more dumb things before 9 a.m. than most people say all day.
What's up, y'all? This is Ifeatu Melifonwu, safety for the Detroit Lions. And I just want to take some time out to give a big shout out to Russell Wayne and Main Event Mike from the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. It's a fan page and a podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate the support of me and my team, and I encourage everyone to go check out their podcast and check out their fan page. Go Lions.
It's not fair. They were so happy. It's not gonna be okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Henry. Good afternoon, Chad. Good afternoon, Jordan. Good afternoon, Chad. Fred Peterson. We're not doing it in the morning no more. It's the afternoon. Yeah, everybody, welcome one, welcome all, and good afternoon to each and every one of you out there right now. This is Football Talk with Russell Wayne, Season 3 starting. The off season has started, and this is Lions Talk Day. And we're going to talk the state of the Lions roster right here, right now. Right here, but we are broadcasting live into a few places right now. I want to give a shout out to the Detroit Lions News Podcast put a shout out to Joe Chapp and the boys. They do a good job over there. They probably have more than 75,000 people by now. We are broadcasting live into the Detroit Lions villain squad. And we just crossed over 45,000 villains right there. So thank you to the Lions fans that are out there that have taken this journey with us this year to that all the way to the NFC Championship this year for all of those villains. So thank you. Thank you. We're also broadcasting live into the YouTube channel. The main event 365 right there. Type it in. Go subscribe. We appreciate the people that follow. We appreciate the people that share this content. And we're going to talk today. We're going to go through the state of the roster. And we're going to start. We're going to go through the entire state, meaning we're going to break it up into this. We're going to do the state of the Lions front seven. And then we're going to do the state of the Lions secondary. We're also going to talk about the state of the Lions offensive line. And we're going to talk about the state of the Lions skill positions. And that's what we're going to go through today right there. And we're going to put a little shout out right here. We got Chad in the comments. Good afternoon to you, my friend. Right there. Fred Peterson. That is our Patreon. Good afternoon to you. Hey, I'm Fred. Hey, Fred. Hey, Fred from Chad. And we got Gene. Gene in the house. Thank you. Thank you, Gene, for watching the program today. And I wanted to start with the front seven. So when you're looking at the Lions front seven, and we can comment on this too. Make sure you throw your comments in there on this. So the Lions front seven, let's look at what we really have right here. We have up on the defensive line, you have Aleem McNeil. And Aleem McNeil had a breakout season, I would say, in his third year. And then we have some guys, like John Kaminsky. We have some guys like Josh Paschal. I don't know if they're going to bring back James Houston. That would be a question. And the front seven, in all honesty, at the beginning of the year, from the talent perspective, they could use an upgrade right there in the offseason. Right there. You got some good pieces. You got some good pieces in Aleem McNeil. I like Josh Paschal. I expect him to take another step forward. I thought that he had another step forward in his second year. I mean, last year dealt with a lot of injuries when it comes to Josh Paschal. And then John Kaminsky, that was just kind of a Magoo kind of year. He just kind of he played well at times. He didn't really embarrass the Lions too much up front. And John Kaminsky, and I should write these down right here. Let's put these in as we're talking to each one about these. John Kaminsky, you want to see more sacks on the other side of Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson can't be your only pass rusher. So what do you do about that? What do you do about upgrading, getting a pass rush? Aaron Glenn did a pretty good job this year at being able to generate a pass rush, but he had to blitz all the time. So you had Romeo Okwara. You had Julian Okwara. You have, John Kaminsky, Charles Harris. These guys were guys, and at times they would just kind of disappear. You need somebody on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. So, free agent targets. I saw a couple of the comments in there right off the bat. Danielle Hunter. This guy had like 16 sacks last year. That hair is luxurious. Chad says that he wants Hunter opposite Hutchinson. And a lot of people would say, hey, Danielle Hunter's going to be too expensive. You can't afford that. You only have a certain amount of money. And everybody knows that the salary cap is a myth. Everybody knows that. Right now, the Lions are sitting at $46 million after the dead cap comes off. They did some moves last year and acquired some of that dead cap stuff. But $46 million, when you manipulate it, last year it seemed like they signed like 3 dudes. You know, like they started out with 17 million. They signed like 3 people, and then they were at 20 million. So, I mean, they can work major things out with these contracts. And I absolutely think they have the money to go out and do and have one splash signing. I mean, they got to sign their own guys. They have to sign their own guys. I understand. I understand that you want to have Aiden Hutchinson long term, that he's your long term guy. I understand that. As I am going to welcome my luxurious cohort, Main Event Mike, to the stage. That's it. That's it. How you doing, Mike?
Good afternoon, Russ. Sorry I'm late. My bus was hijacked to Cuba.
Right there. I got the good morning or good afternoon graphic. We have changed to the afternoon times at 3 p.m. We're trying to build this back up. Not as many people are going to be watching this on the afternoon until we build it up. So tell a friend. Tell a friend that we're doing this in the afternoon. We're doing the state of the Lions roster right now. I started out talking about the state of the Lions front 7 right now, and I'm just kind of getting through these pass rushers. I didn't even start talking about the linebackers yet, but I started out with I love the fact that you got Aleem McNeil stepping up. He stepped up in his 3rd year. You got Aiden Hutchinson. You can count on those 2 pieces. But after that, I like Josh Pascal. I like where he's developing into. But then you got some guys. You know, you got a John Kaminsky. You know, you got a Charles Harris. You know, Romeo Okwara waiting in. I mean, I don't know. None of those guys move the needle for me. So I think that they could definitely upgrade right there. And then all of a sudden, that one name comes through, Danielle Hunter. So that's kind of where we're at, right? I'm just kind of bringing you up to speed. And Danielle Hunter, free agent target, that was just brought up by Chad in the comments. What do you think about that, Danielle Hunter?
That would be my free agent, dream free agent. I think I agree with everything you say. Those guys are, there's some guys, right? There's some guys, but they're not game changers. They're not impact players when you get outside of Aiden Hutchinson, really. And Aleem McNeil, right? Those guys are for sure. Those guys are part of the core. I like Josh Pascal. He's a 2nd-round pick. He might not have lived up to that yet, but you got a good core group. But in this league, on the defensive line, Russ, you got to have 8, 7, 8 guys that you can rotate in on a game every week basis.
Right.
And we don't have that. This is a room that could use some upgrades, just like you said. Danielle Hunter, he's really the only big splash free agent out there that I think the Lions could really make a move for. He's going to want to bag, but what he's going to do to the offense on the other side of Aiden, or the defense on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, is going to be seemingly worth it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that, like, I mean, with $46 million, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking right at over the cap right now, sitting at $46 million. I know that they were at 58, but they had some dead cap stuff that carried over from last year by signing the guys where they pushed those dead money down. And Brad Holmes has done a good job at being able to bring talent in. And I expect him to do that again, to kick the can down the road on a lot of these. And for all of those people that say, hey, you can't pay 2 defensive ends, and you're right, but you don't have to pay Aiden Hutchinson for 2 years. Okay. So you could give Hunter a 2-year bag and front load that thing and just like bring him in as a mercenary. And there you got 2 guys that are going after the quarterback all day long, and all of a sudden those John Kaminsky's and the Josh Pascals that are just coming in rotation, that makes them even a little more effective at that point where you got these guys going in. So I am all in on that. Spend it. Give them 2 year, $50 million deal with a bunch of signing bonuses and stuff like that. You got to get it done. That's what they're paying these guys. You got, you do that. You got 2 years of a Super Bowl window of a pass rush that is devastating.
We might have a dark horse in this Matthew Betts that we're getting from the Canadian Football League, the Canadian Defensive Player of the Year. That might be an injection into this room. We don't know what we're getting. I mean, obviously it's not a sure thing like Danielle Hunter, but there are other things and that's going to change the draft landscape, right? What they do in free agency. If they're not able to land Danielle Hunter or maybe the other Josh Allen from the Jaguars or some help on the defensive line in free agency, then you've got to expect that they're going to make a big move in the secondary in free agency. One thing begets the other, right?
Yeah. For sure. Do you want to segue into the secondary?
No. My point is you might be able to get the defensive line help you want in the draft if you're able to get the secondary help you need in the free agency. But some combination of that is going to help that defensive line. And, they just have options is what I'm going at, because we don't know what they have in Matthew Betts. This might be the piece they need when you throw James Houston coming back off an injury. Josh Pascal, another year of development. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike is something that they still have a lot of faith in, even though a lot of the fans don't seem to. So there's a lot of pieces there on that defensive line, but you need 7 or 8, and you can easily cast off anyone named Okwara, anyone named Charles Harris. You can get rid of some. Those are interchangeable names, it seems like, for what the core of the best defensive linemen that we have. I think Kaminsky has to stay. He's a fan favorite for sure.
For sure. But there is that cap type of thing that goes on. We're going to get into that a little bit later on too. There's a couple of guys that are good that we like that, maybe they're making a little bit too much money for what their role is. And there's another guy that goes along with Danielle Hunter, and I'm just kind of going through the top free agents. This is right off of PFF right now. Another guy that's just in that same type of category as Danielle Hunter is Brian Burns is available, and he would probably garner about the same type of contract that, Danielle Hunter would, and he would be just as much of a beast. But something I wanted to bring up is Aiden Hutchinson plays about 95% of the snaps when he's out there. I mean, he's a wrecking crew. And Danielle Hunter is another type of dude that is like that, where you're probably going to be able to leave those two out there for a majority of the time, which would mean, because the guys that were opposite of Hutchinson this year, that was a rotating revolving door, and all those guys did about 30% of the snaps. Bringing a guy like Burns or Danielle Hunter in is going to completely change the landscape of that, how many pass rushers they're going to keep, because you're putting your eggs in that basket right there, because those are the guys that are going to be rushing, 90% of the snaps is Danielle Hunter and Aiden Hutchinson, if that's what you bring in, or Danielle or Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Burns. Those are guys.
Here's another thing, Russ. Just because they're free agents doesn't mean they're going to be available. Some of these guys are going to sign with the team they're on.
Right.
They're going to re-sign some of their own players. Right. So just because we're talking about it now doesn't mean that this is even, we're just throwing names out there right now. Right.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm trying to do, the state of where we're at. So that's what we have.
And we're killing that.
So what we have in the front seven, at least on the front seven on the defensive line, I think that we can all agree that we would need some sort of pass rusher or some guy that can get after or even interior help. There's a bunch of interior guys that are available too. As far as the linebackers are concerned, I don't think that we really need that much change. I like Alex Anzalone. They just drafted Jack Campbell, who had a quietly really good year. You got Malcolm Rodriguez in reserve. You got Derek Barnes, who is, somebody that you can keep. For this year, I mean, maybe you draft one, maybe you draft a linebacker, but that's not a pressing need anymore like it has been in the past.
I think this linebacker room's solid and set.
Right. I mean,
Jack Campbell's developed. He's going to have another year to develop.
So I don't think we need to spend too much time. I think those are studs. I mean, what Alex Anzalone said in that letter right there, he's all in, and then you have your young core right behind him. So yeah,
right. Chad's got a good comment here. Minnesota can't afford Danielle Hunter and keep Justin Jefferson.
Right.
So I mean, maybe Kwesi does some crazy move and lets Justin Jefferson go, or gets rid of him in some way and gives the bag to Hunter to stay. Squashes what the Lions are doing there.
Well, I mean, but the thing is there's other guys that are available, but we'd probably need to go into free agency and grab one. That would be the point. As I want to move on right here because we're a quarter of the way through. Let's see what we got in the comments. Have you been looking in these comments?
I have, and I love that to the point we just made. Fred Peterson says he thinks they let JJ walk simply because Addison shows some promise while Hunter who behind him? No one. That's who he has behind him. So that actually makes a lot of sense. On the surface, it looks like it's crazy to get rid of the best wide receiver in the game.
Yeah, well, I would say you write that down, and when we get into that, we're later on this week, when we get into the topics of the other teams, we need to ask the Minnesota Viking fans that when we get them on here on a show like that. Is like, if you had a gun to your head and you had to pick one of your guys, I mean, are you keeping JJ or are you keeping Hunter? I think that the answer should be that JJ, they should be keeping JJ. But
well, that's what Robert says. There's no way the Vikings let Detroit get Danielle Hunter. They let that diva JJ go. Pay Hunter. It's a good.
Wow.
Take.
Hey, hey. He's a man after my own heart right there. Even though you're a greasy Packer fan right there, I love a football fan that values that fight, that values that guy up there getting after the pass.
And I'm sure it's not helping the situation when Justin Jefferson's out there making statements like, I'm going to break the bank. I mean, that's not what your GM wants to hear when he comes to make a contract.
Yep.
So.
And whichever team wants to sell some jerseys and not win a Super Bowl will sign him. So, but I like where they're at right there, man. They got to figure out something. But I think that the Lions are set at that linebacker room. I mean, they may draft. I'm sure they'll draft a guy somewhere in development. Do you got any other comments in there that you want to throw up before I go
not
to
on
secondary?
this topic? Nope, not on this topic.
Okay. So we're going to move to the secondary part because I know that this is the one where everybody has the most griping to do. So you can start the griping. Go ahead. Give me the state of the Lions secondary.
I think you just look at the rankings, ranked 27th in the league against the pass. That says it all. They're the 27th ranked passing defense in the league, and it showed in every game, especially the last 5 weeks of the season, where they gave up nearly 400 yards passing to every quarterback they faced, including Nick Mullins twice. Okay. So yeah. I mean, when you're making Nick Mullins look like Joe Montana, hey, you don't really need some knucklehead with a podcast to tell you we need help there in the secondary.
Right. But let's start with the positive right here, because I know everybody already knows that we want to, fire everybody that is guarding a wide receiver. But the positive part is, the guy that you put right up there. You got in the safety department, you can bring back Chauncey Gardner. You got Tracy Walker under contract. You got Kirby Joseph under contract. You got Brian Branch under contract. And, that's solid when it comes to that part of the back. But then you got Cam Sutton, who, if he's guarding your number 2 or number 3 playmaker, he's okay. But if you're asking him to guard number 1 guys, they will abuse. That's why they're number 27. He's a solid dude, but he's just not a number 1. So they need help right there in that spot. And Jerry Jacobs is a free agent. I mean, I don't know if anybody's clamoring to want. I forgot about Ifatu. Yeah, Fatu Melifonu's in that safety room too. I mean, they're really solid on that back end. But
in fact, if you take CJGJ out of that equation, I think we're still looking good in the safety room.
Right. But one of the questions, and I made a piece of content that's going to come out tomorrow or the next day about Tracy Walker. So I'm looking through this over the cap here, and there's a couple contracts that kind of stand out. Three of them in particular. One of them obviously is the obvious one is Jared Goff. This is he has zero guaranteed money. So I know that they're going to do something one way or another, and I don't think they're going to release him. But if they did, they would get the full, like almost the full amount. They would get $27 million worth of cap relief if they were to release him. They won't do that. But if
Jared Goff?
I'm talking about Goff. I'm just giving you the numbers. I am not throwing opinion here. I'm just saying, if they were to release him because there's no guaranteed money, it would be $27 million. If they extend him, and this is, I lost Mike on that one. He's like, I'm out of here. What did you say? What did you say? What did you say about Jared Goff?
It's my quarterback.
No. If you extend him, this is an advantage for the Lions because this year, if you extend him, is going to be the most cap relief. They would probably free up $15 or so million to give him a 3 or 4 year extension. And if you're going all in on the Super Bowl, I mean, that's another offensive. That's paying Jonah Jackson and Glasgow. That's bringing back the band by extending Goff. Another one is Taylor Decker. Taylor Decker's in the last year of his contract. He has zero guaranteed money. He said he wanted to retire a Lion. If you extend him by 3 or 4 years to have him finish the Lion at a hometown discount, you could free up another $10 million or so by extending Decker. And then you get to Tracy Walker. And he costs $8 million this year. Now now that's just his base salary. And then he's due a $4.5 million bonus. So
that's Tracy Walker.
That's Tracy Walker. And that's
a Brad Holmes contract too. He signed that.
Yeah, he signed that. But here's why Brad Holmes was a genius in this. If they wanted to get out of that contract, they could free up $5.5 million. And right now, $8 million to me is way too much money to pay a guy that's in reserve that was a healthy scratch in the last 3 games.
Because the safety room is loaded. Because he doesn't play corner.
So here's the thing. If you could get rid of that contract and then you re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to that money, then there's that room. And I honestly think that might be the play, or it might not be the play. But
that sounds so smart right there. That's it right there. So that contract, you check that out then. Tracy Walker, we could release him and save $5 million.
$5.5 million right now. Yep.
For a guy that was a healthy scratch down the stretch.
So
that sounds like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one option for sure.
But to get rid of CJGJ is a big argument with Lions fans right now. That this is an issue that's dividing Lions fans. Half of them say get rid of him. And I know, Russ, you made a great point the other day that Dan Campbell told him, I don't mind the smack talking, just don't let it turn into a penalty. And that's what it did in the championship game on a big interception.
Yep. You know how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, that was a dark rain cloud on a bright moment right there of that game for us. And I think that might be his ticket out of here. But if the price is right, he's a hell of a player, and he's a talented player. And let's go to the comments on this one. Jonathan says, I agree with Mike. We should get rid of Chauncey Gardner.
Well, let's put a caveat on this because I saw some stuff that's out there. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't mean to hit you right here, and I'll let you get to the comment after this. But let's put the caveat on this. If we re-sign CJGJ, if we could get him for $3.5 million for the 1 year on kind of a prove-it deal, if he would play for that here, would you bring him back for that?
That's a good question. What is the bar to bring him back? Where is it at?
But I have
what's he get this year? $8 million for 1 year?
He got 6. He got 6.
The 6 million.
It was performance based. He
Right.
could have gotten 8, but he obviously didn't get the performance. Because he got the injured. So I think he got around 6 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Let me see if I over the cap.
By the way, it was a torn pec, which usually puts a player out for the entire season. It's pretty amazing he was able to come back. They said it was a nice clean tear. So you got to like that too, that, he's a guy that bounces back.
So Cam Sutton's here, guys. Like everyone's like, yeah, get rid of Cam Sutton. Well, that ain't happening because it would cost you $5 million to release him. And he's a good player, guys. Like it's not like you want to throw that out. But Cam Sutton didn't play all that well, but he's on the team and he is a corner that plays. And that room needs an upgrade. That's another. I think they have enough money, Mike, to sign one major dude that's out there that could come in like a Hunter or a Burns or a Snead or whatever guy they want to bring in to bolster one of the rooms. I think they got the money to bring in at least one of those guys, maybe 2, and extend Amon-Ra St. Brown and extend, Goff and Decker and have enough money to do that. Because all of those moves move the needle on that. So there's a bunch of guys that are in the draft. I know that we're going to be talking about a bunch of that, but we're not going to get into much of that because all these guys run around in shorts here in a couple of weeks at this thing called the NFL Combine. And I'm not going to pretend like I know about any of these guys other than name. You got any comments before we move on to the offensive line, since I've already been kind of talking about it?
Jonathan says the safeties for the Lions aren't bad. It's the corners that need upgrade, right? Thanks for the comment, Jonathan. Brent says Branch, Iffy, Kirby, and CJ, can any of them play corner? I thought they were supposed to. Well, Iffy was a corner in college. We converted him to safety, but Kirby is exclusively a safety. Branch and CJ already play the nickel corner. So yeah,
they're tweeners. They're between that free safety nickel corner, and that's good too, which is borderline linebacker.
And Donald, backtracking on what we were talking about, we need an opposing defensive end to help, somebody that can come straight out of the draft like Hutch did, blowing shit up. So that saves Detroit money. I think that's a worth noting, that if you were able to hit a nice edge rusher in the draft, who's the next big thing, that Brad Holmes magic, and then you're able to go out in free agency and get a guy like Stephon Gilmore from Dallas, a veteran who is an island corner. Like Donald's point there, if you get one out of the gate that's from the draft on a rookie contract, save the team some money. And earlier up in the comments chat, it said at 29, if Michael Penix is still there, there will be teams wanting to trade up to 29 to get Michael Penix.
That's a great point.
It's my quarterback.
And I honestly think that Brad Holmes is going to double down. You know how he attacks stuff. I think he'll go out and make a major free agent signing in the secondary room, like a corner that's better than Sutton. Let's put it there. I think he'll bring in a free agent cornerback, and I think that he's going to draft a corner high too. So I think that he'll stock that room. He'll double dip, maybe even triple. He may go get a couple corner. He'll bring in a corner that you don't know anything about that will be good, and a corner that you know that is good.
Last year he brought in 2 studs on O, 2 studs on D, and a couple of projects. So maybe if that same kind of 2 on O, 2 on D.
Right.
And now this is what we're talking about today, right? What position will those be, right? We know on offensive line is probably going to be on the O line on the offensive side of the ball. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I'm just saying they brought in those 2 studs on both sides of the ball, and this year we have 3 times the money that he had last year to work with. Mm-hmm. So this is a different situation, guys. Last year, you saw it happen. They had like 17 million to start out with, and then they go out and they sign like 3 people, and then they have 24 million after they sign 3 people. You're like, how the hell they do that? Well, that's what they do. And I expect them to utilize the cap, and there will be some I would call them minions for hire, man. If they bring in Daniil Hunter, it's a minion for hire. This isn't the long-term deal. They're going to give him a 2-year bag to compete for the Super Bowl, that when the 2 years are up, they can go ahead and extend Hutchinson at that time. Let's go and compete. So this isn't long-term. You have enough money to give a couple bags out to some henchmen, right?
Right. And we would certainly have the inside track on Emmanuel Mosley. There was someone in our comments that was commenting, like to see him keep Mosley if he would, sign for a really cheap deal. That talent is still there. Well, right. I'm on the other side of the fence on that one. 2 ACLs is enough for me.
Well, he was helping out, and I think I know where you're coming from. Thanks for that comment, but that's
sure.
Emmanuel Mosley was helping out a lot in like the film room and stuff like that as a coach and things like that. So maybe not as a player, but he wasn't making that much money to begin with. He already gave the injury discount, and if he comes, he'll be playing for almost nothing. Which, having another set of eyes in a room of his skill set ain't the worst thing in the world, But no, they're gonna go out and upgrade this room. Right. It's good. They're going to get a couple of guys that are going to translate that. And I would predict, spoiler alert, that Sutton will be your third corner when they get all done, said and done with this. And that's exactly where you want him to be. You want him coming in that reserve spot. But right here, we talked a little bit about the offensive line right here, and feel free to comment on the secondary and keep that conversation going too. But as we move into the offensive line, and this is the strength of the team. So when you look at Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, and Taylor Decker, those are your pillars for sure.
It's going to be real exciting coming up to see if they give CJ a contract. There's a lot of questions that I want to see answers to. Or do you re-sign Glasgow? I mean, some guy in our chat was saying that's the biggest, thing we got to do right now. Contracts for Penei, contracts for Amon-Ra, Goff extensions. Man, there's a lot of drama surrounding this team and a lot of excitement about making it better. I want to get this comment up from Fred, who's our Patreon. By the way, it's called Patreon/Villain Squad. Also, don't forget the free agent from last year. This isn't the Lions from years past. Players are seeing what Brad, Dan, and the Lions are doing. Players want to be here. That's such a great point. No longer are we like, oh, well, he'd never come here. We never hear that anymore, right? Our whole culture, our mindset is changed on how we look at free agency and how we look at the draft even. That's what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done here. They've even changed the mindset of the fan base, who now every free agent that's out there is on the table for the Detroit Lions, where it never used to be that way. And we even see residual of that, like Micah Parsons' backhanded comment last year, nobody going from LA to Detroit. Right. So, I mean, that whole mentality, we're burying that and putting that in the past. So that's a great point, Fred.
I love it. And as we're talking about Glasgow and Jonah Jackson, like one of the thoughts that are in my mind, and I would be totally good with this, is that they don't go out and sign gigantic names in the outside of the organization, and you just extend Jonah. You extend Glasgow. You extend Amon-Ra St. Brown. You extend Jared Goff. You extend Taylor Decker, and just get it done. I mean, and run with the team that you had, that were your warriors. But here's the thing: if you extend all of those guys, like with this offensive line, if you extend Taylor Decker, you are going to save money versus the cap. I mean, his base salary is $12 million. His cap number is $19 million. I mean, you could free up $10 million by extending Taylor Decker and making him a Lion for life. To me, that's a no-brainer. Get that done. Taylor Decker.
I think you're right on it, bro. You're nailing a couple of these takes right on. That sounds like a no-brainer. You can get some cap room, lock him up, Lion for life. That's a no-brainer. kick Walker to the curb because we set up the contract to do so if we wanted, and take that money and give it to CJ. I think you've nailed two really outstanding points so far on that.
I mean, and I'd be good if they kept Tracy Walker. It's not like they said, oh man, Tracy Walker's been awful. It's just the other guys were playing better, and it is what it is. You're looking at the contract and there it is. It's $7.9 million. And I'm the cap guy. I love going through here and crunching all these numbers. And those are obvious things. Like if they extend Jared Goff, his base salary is $22 million. His cap number is $32 million. They could extend him out with bonuses, even if they did just a 2-year extension, at $48 million a year, let's say. They would be able to, shave off an extra $10-15 million for that first year of that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So go for it, man. We're in a Super Bowl window, man. Isn't this exciting?
Be like Dan Campbell. Go for it.
And go for it right there. State of the offensive line, guys. Let's see if they got any comments in here on our offensive line. I know that's not the sexiest thing. I know I like offensive line talk, but not everybody does, I mean, I think that you can get Glasgow back for one of these guys is going to sign to a team-friendly deal, man. I mean, I think that they know.
Jonah Jackson's probably not going to be here is what I'm hearing a lot of rumors because there are teams out there that will overpay for him, and the Lions aren't going to overpay for him. So it comes down to how happy is he here? How happy does he want it? How much does he want to stay on this team? Because he can get more money than the Lions are going to pay him. So it's more than likely he's gone. But if we can, but Glasgow, on the other hand, has made it clear this is where he wants to be. And he's not going to break the bank in any setting.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Jamal Williams is on line 1. So, yeah, that's the way that Brad Holmes is going to handle that. Because
who's Jamal Williams, the running back?
Jamal Williams, yeah. When he wanted to hold Brad Holmes said, hey.
Oh, Swaggy. Yeah, Jamal Williams.
Swaggy. So I think that both of these offensive linemen are going to be in the same category. Brad Holmes, we got this budget right here. This is what we're going to have. This is what we're going to spend on our offensive line. This is what we got for you, man. We really like what you're doing for what we're doing here, man. This is the offer, man. Go out and try to get your money, but this is what we'll offer you, man. Let me know. That's Brad Holmes, man. Like this $10 million that they're seeing out there, Brad Holmes will be like, I'll give you 6 and we're going to compete for a championship. So let me know. And that's what it'll be. If not, then they'll throw some draft capital at it. I mean, don't be surprised if the draft is boring, guys, and everyone's going to be mad if they do this. But the first 2 picks might be interior offensive linemen in the draft.
Again, what you do in free agency shapes the landscape of the draft. So, right, absolutely right. We could land what we need in free agency and then go O-line with the first pick.
O-line. Like, and that's the thing is like, you got to set yourself up for the future. And I know that we need defensive back help, but all of that's there. We don't have all the holes anymore, guys. I mean, you can get other offensive linemen. You can't have enough good offensive linemen, but there's not holes, guys. We got solid roster spots. When you're talking about like, look, just going back to the secondary, you look at your safety room, there's not a lot of room there for people that come in from the outside, but you need some cornerbacks. You look at this room right here. We got some really, really good pieces, hard room to crack.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, 32%. That is the turnover rate of average NFL team year over year. They turn over their roster about 32% of the roster. The last 2 years, the Lions have been under that number. So I expect we'll be under that number again because we are going to handpick the guys we want to keep and sign them, and they're going to want to stay, not like years past. And the guys that we know we can upgrade, we're going to upgrade either through free agency or the draft because we all have faith in Brad. That's what it comes down to.
Brad, we trust. Hey, this is Football Talk with Russell Wayne right here. And it's Lions Wednesday. We're talking the state of the Lions roster. We're going through position by position right here. And
I got to jump off. Russ, can I sign off?
You can sign off, but I'm going to keep this conversation going, though.
Darn right you are. You still got to go through the skill players, right?
I do.
There you go. Main event Mike, God bless you all. Peace out.
All right, that's Main Event Mike. He is my compadre right here, and this is Football Talk with Russell Wayne, state of the roster right here. And we were talking about the offensive line, but we're going to pivot right here to the skill positions. And this is the part where, all of the other teams, I think, are going to go crazy on this. And Mike doesn't like the music, but I like that. I like the music, just kind of faint in the background right there. But the state of the skill positions. I mean, this feels good. If you're a Lion fan, and I didn't just want to, pack that thing full of all of the skill position. But think about that. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and Craig Reynolds. They're going to bring Craig Reynolds back. And then that room is fine. I don't know. Maybe you draft a running back. It depends. But you don't need one. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta. And you like James Mitchell still. Brock Wright's fine. I mean, you could upgrade there if you wanted, but that room's fine. You bring those guys back, you're fine. Skill position's fine. You want to bring back Josh Reynolds? I don't mind that. But you're set there, really. When you think of the skill positions, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown extension. I think they got to get it done. I think that's huge. Amon-Ra extension, it to me is the most important extension out of all of them. I mean, you can re-sign Jonah Jackson if you want, or you don't have to. I'm good with that. You got to replace the talent. You got with somebody, but I mean, Jonah Jackson in free agency, there's probably 10 guards that are available that are considered better. So, I mean, I don't know how much money he's going to get out there, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's your Lion, man. He fell all the way to the 4th round. That was the steal of that draft. Amon-Ra St. Brown, first team All-Pro in 3 years, proving to be the best wide receiver out of that class. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he embodies everything that you want in a Detroit Lion. The grit. Got the grit. He's got the toughness. He's got the work ethic. You know that he's going to give everything that he has. You need to give him a gigantic extension. And I don't think that he's going to go after Justin Jefferson money. I think that he'll go to get paid. But if you extended him out, 6-year deal, something that averaged a little under 20 million, I think that's what they would get it for. But we'll see. But you give Amon-Ra St. Brown what he wants. That's important. That's important that you don't let that linger into the season. In my opinion. But I trust Brad Holmes. If he doesn't do the things that I want, I'm not going to throw a hissy fit. I trust Holmes, man. I mean, if anybody had any bad things to say about Holmes, I certainly hope that you squashed that. Jason agrees with me. Ra is priority, man. I mean, I think it's more important than Goff. I mean, Goff going into his last year. What's the worst case scenario with Goff? I mean, What if they didn't extend Goff? They just let that contract play out. They could franchise tag him the following year. I mean, I guess they could do the same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I wouldn't want to do that. Last year, he got a $40,000 fine, and he said it hurt him. You know, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown he's a lion, man. He's as lion can be. So get it done. The skill positions. I mean, Laporta, you just drafted him, man. You got 3 more years of a rookie deal, and you might have a top 5 tight end. How badass is that? I mean, Josh Reynolds, I mean, they could re-sign him. I mean, he was getting $7 million last year. So, obviously, they're not going to give him that. I mean, they just signed Leaf to a long-term deal, and he's the punt returner, 3rd wide receiver. You expect Jameson and Amon-Ra, right? You need an X. You need an X wide receiver. And he doesn't have to be your number 1 playmaker or anything, but you do need a guy that can go up and make contested catches. So, but you can get somebody, draft somebody. I don't think that you have to overpay on that. So, but overall, the skill positions, oh my gosh. I mean, what more do you want out of the Lions' skill positions? Your 3 deep wide receivers that you can count on. Jameson Williams stepped up. I expect him to take a huge step. I mean, I expect him to get targets next year, and I mean, making big plays. Sometimes these guys take longer to develop, but they can get that 3rd year breakout. But there's not a huge need there. It's not like, oh my God, I got to get something done. But on the offensive line, it's like that's a strength of our team. But long term, I think it's the biggest need. Long term, it's the biggest need. So I mean, I expect them to draft an offensive lineman very high. If not with that 29th pick, but maybe the 2nd round pick. Because you can get incredible value that 2nd, 3rd round especially on the interior. You know, everybody else is going to be drafting those skill positions, but we don't need that, guys. We don't need that. We don't need the skill positions. So we may be able to steal some really, really good interior. The interior defensive line at 2nd, 3rd round. It's a good spot. It's a good spot to be. Oh, when you're talking about that front 7. Linebackers. Just kind of going over the review right here. And the linebackers, I feel good about our linebacker core. Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez. I like that. You like that? I mean, you can draft more guys, developmentary guys. I like that. Defensive line, I love the Liam McNeil piece. I love where Josh Pascal's in his 2nd year. He'll go into his 3rd year. Levi's in a prove year. I mean, and he's in a contract year. So maybe that one didn't work out. Maybe he don't make the team. But yeah, you need help on the interior. Give me a big body. Give me a big body in free agency. Go out there. What do they got out there? There's some guys that are out there. There's some guys that are out there. Christian Wilkins. Go get him from the Miami Dolphins. He'll help out in the middle. I mean, there's some guys that you can get. There's some guys that are out there, and the Lions got some money. They got some money. But thank you, everybody. I'm going to bring it to an end. Thank you for going over the Lions roster with us today. This is Football Talk with Russell Wayne. It's Lions Wednesday. Tomorrow we might go into some of the other rosters in the NFC North. But we've been concentrating. We've been concentrating on trying to make our team better. But we appreciate anybody that likes this content. We appreciate anybody that shares this content, especially if you're football fans. Football 365, we cover the whole schedule. And the scouting combines coming up, and then the legal tampering. But we're gonna be going over some free agents, talking about some free agents. Who are your favorite free agents? What do you want to do? But as we bring it to an end right here, faith, family, and football, everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate if you use the giving link that's in the description right there for our outreach from our church. If you're using that, you're helping us to do some good things in Genesee County and helping people that are less fortunate than ourselves. So faith, family, and football. The family and football, that part's easy. We're using football to spend time with our family. That's what we're doing. I hope that you're doing the same thing. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tomorrow for Football Talk in the afternoon at 3 p.m. with Russell Wayne. Peace out.
What's up, y'all? This is Ifeatu Melifonwu, safety for the Detroit Lions. And I just want to take some time out to give a big shout out to Russell Wayne and Main Event Mike from the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. It's a fan page and a podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate the support of me and my team. And I encourage everyone to go check out their podcast and check out their fan page. Go Lions.
What's going on, Russell Wayne and the Main Event 365 Network? This is Jason Kabinda from the Detroit Lions. Here to give y'all a shout out, man. We appreciate all the support, man. Know you guys are big fans. Know that you guys are rooting for us to take the North this year, and we're going to do just that, man. Appreciate you guys so much. Just want to give y'all a shout out. Y'all have a great day.